Hello, hello, gorgeous souls. Welcome to another fabulous Starseed video. In this one, we're going to be talking all about Serpens, the serpent starseeds. So let's get into it. And welcome to my channel. For those of you that are new here, my name is Dr. Heather of the Starseed Sanctuary. I am a professional galactic deep space starseed astrologer and Akashic Records reader, and I specialize in starseed galactic origins. So if you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please take a minute and do so you can stay up to date with all of the magical content I create. So thank you guys for being here. So in this Serpens Starseed Super Session, we're going to be covering the Serpens star system, the constellation of Serpens, the stars of the serpent, deep space objects of Serpens, some mythology, some galactic history, Serpens starseed traits, and of course, how to discover Serpens starseed codes in your natal chart, as well as the Serpens alignment. So let's get into it. So the Serpens constellation lies in the northern hemisphere, and its name means the serpent in Latin. Serpens was first cataloged by Greek astronomer Ptolemy in the 2nd century, and the constellation is divided into two parts by Ophiuchus. Ophiuchus, the serpent holder, the serpent bearer, literally holds the serpent constellation in his little hands. And so we have two parts here. We have Serpens caput, which represents the serpent's head up here, and the main star, Alpha Serpens or Unicale. And then we have the Serpens cauda on the other side, representing the serpent's tail. There's two meteor showers that are associated with the Serpens star system, Omega Serpentids peaking around December 26th and the Sigma Serpentids peaking around December 27th. So some of the stars of Serpens. So Serpens contains 5 named stars: Alatia, Alaya, Guja, Cave, and Unicalhe. The brightest star in the constellation is Alpha Serpentis, also known as its traditional name, Unucale, and that's the head of the serpent. Serpens contains more than 15 stars with known exoplanets. It's a pretty huge constellation. Some very well-known deep space objects of Serpens. Serpens contains one of the brightest, best-known nebula in the sky, the Eagle Nebula, or Messier 16, which in turn contains the pillars of creation pictured here on the right. This is a big star-forming region, famously imaged by the Hubble telescope. There's quite a few other notable deep sky objects in this constellation, including the large globular cluster. You guys know I love a globular cluster, my 05. The Emission Nebula, Seyfert's Galaxy, and the ring galaxy known as Hogg's Object, as well as the Serpens South Star Cluster. But of course, the most famous, well-known image is these pillars of creation in that Eagle Nebula. So, some mythology of Serpens. So, in Greek mythology, the Serpens constellation represents a giant snake held by the healer Asclepius, represented by Ophiuchus's constellation. And Asclepius is usually depicted holding the top half of the snake in his left hand and the right in his the tail in his right hand. He was the son of the god Apollo, the sun god, who's said to be able to bring people back to life with his healing powers. And in one of the Greek mythology stories, he did away with a snake and saw it being brought back to life by an herb that another snake placed on it. And it was said that Asclepius later used that same technique to heal humans and bring humans back to life. And we know the caudacus symbol that's very well known in the medical world as a symbol of healing. So, some galactic history. So, the beings of both Hydra, the water serpent, as well as Serpens, the serpent, are connected with the serpent hominid starseed lineage that originated from the Hydra supercluster and the Laniakea cluster of galaxies, very close to the Great Attractor. And I go over this very extensively in the Hydra starseed video. If you haven't watched that one, I highly recommend you do. They are a very ancient group consciousness that's even older than the Milky Way galaxy. And from Akashic Records readings and various research, we know that these original serpent people from both Hydra and Serpens came to Earth even prior to other civilizations. Very, very ancient group. These serpent beings lived near and guarded portals to the underworld. And these entrances to the underworld were thought to exist all over the world, hidden in very remote, sometimes dangerous locations. These serpentine beings were one of the original guardians of the underworld and Earth's portal system, much like the original dragon guardians. Now, over time, beings like dragons and serpents have become to hold a more nefarious connotation because of different hybridization from Draco reptilians and Anunnaki, among other more malevolent galactic races. The original ones were quite benevolent. Okay, so Serpens starseed traits. These souls that originate from the Serpens constellation, whether that's their soul origin point or even maybe a more recent incarnation, a starseed origin would be a more recent incarnation in this star system. But for some, this could be their very first incarnation and form after fractalizing from source consciousness. So these souls are sometimes described as being chthonic, like the souls of Corvus. They're very deeply tied to what might be labeled darker energies, taboo to some. Things like demons, dark deities, underworld, shadow work, death work, witchcraft, all of those things that are kind of taboo that a lot of people fear, that a lot of people shy away from or don't dive into. These souls, these star seeds, really, that's their bread and butter. They are very comfortable with those taboo topics, working in the darker realms of Earth, among other different places, really to help people heal. They're fiercely independent to the point that they look for truth far beyond the veil and within themselves rather than from others. Very, very intuitive, and they have an excellent compass for that as well. They can be extremely stubborn, yet surprisingly patient. They have this really interesting paradoxical duality to them that's actually quite beautiful. So they kind of do blend two different extremes to create this paradoxical balance in a way. They're very unique. And so, despite this, when they're pushed to their limits, they really are a force to be reckoned with. They can be patient, but they're stubborn. But you really don't want to like poke the bear here. They're wisdom keepers of the underworld, very connected to archetypal energies like Persephone, Lilith, Kali, some of the darker goddesses. The best way to describe serpent starseeds is that they're very Lilith-like. They're not souls to be taken lightly. They're very rebellious. They really care about what is sacred to them, what is important to them. They're fierce, free-willed. They're the type who would not appreciate others trying to push their stereotypes or labels on them, trying to box them in. They really kind of define all labels. They can be hot-tempered and expert grudge holders, but they're also very protective of those that they're close to. They can sometimes be a little moody and easily shift into a defensive stance. And these star seeds, these soul types tend to go through a shedding of old energies very regularly, like almost every 3 to 6 months, a huge shedding of old energies, of old ways of being, core wounds, all kinds of other things. And sometimes that process of deep shedding and transformation can last for several weeks. And so throughout that period, they can sometimes become withdrawn. This reaction, of course, is going to differ from one serpent soul to another. And many of these starseed types work as Kundalini activators and energy healers. They're very gifted at what they do, and they do it in such a deep, deep, meaningful way that it can feel overpowering or even intimidating to some people that aren't ready to go to that level of depth. So it's also really vital too for Serpens starseeds and Serpens souls to stay close to Earth. much like the serpent or the snake, gardening, rock hunting, rock climbing, walking through the forest with all of their senses open. Because in nature, they can really tap into their healing and honing of their innate natural psychic gifts and abilities. They are the definition of charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent, honey. Very alluring. They have a very similar, like seductive, alluring energy to Hydra. A lot of electromagnetism here. And like the snake, they're flexible and able to shift their path as situations dictate. Messages from other worlds can become much more clear to them as each of their six senses become more finely tuned and powerful. Very, very powerful channels. So Serpens Starseed codes, get out your natal star chart. If you don't have one, you can get a free one at astro.com or the Time Passages app. You will need to know your exact date of birth for accuracy. If you do not know your exact date of birth, you could just put in noon, 12 p.m., if you don't know it. But the closer to accurate, the better. So check and see, do you have any natal placements, especially your big three, your sun, your moon, or your rising, conjunct one of these stars of Serpens? We have the tropical zodiac Serpens codes here. Chow is at 19 degrees of Scorpio. Unakalhe at 22 degrees, 5 minutes Scorpio. Zhang at 23 degrees Scorpio, and Nahai at 24 degrees Sagittarius. The tropical zodiac is what most of the free softwares and free apps default to, and it is based on the sun's trajectory across the celestial equator and the fixed solstice and equinox points. Seasonal. Now, over the last 2,000 years, the stars have shifted because all of the stars, the fixed stars, the stars of the constellations of the zodiac, they move 1 degree every 72 years. Over the last 2,000 years or so, the stars have actually shifted an entire zodiac sign. So the sidereal zodiac system takes that into account. It's an updated system that's based more on the true sky current coordinates, and it also factors in Earth's axial precession. So sidereal zodiac codes for Serpens are Chow at 25 degrees Libra, Unakalhe at 27 degrees Libra, Zhang at 28 degrees Libra, and Nahai at 29 degrees Scorpio. If you have a conjunction to one of the stars of Serpens, it will be conjunct in either system. What will change is the zodiac sign that it's in. And a couple additional Serpens codes are really important to look at. Maybe you don't have any of your natal chart placements, any of the planets or luminaries conjunct one of these stars, but do you have Lilith, Black Moon Lilith conjunct Serpens, or opposite Serpens? That would be a Serpens code we want to look at. Scorpio risings or Scorpio midheavens, and Serpens in the 8th or 12th house would also be a really important Serpens code to look at here. All of these indicate that you have past or parallel life connections to this star system, and definitely might be something you want to dive into more. You can always book a Starseed Galactic Origins reading with me or an Akashic Records reading as well. All right. And then last but certainly not least, we have the Serpens alignment. So Serpens will be conjunct the sun, directly aligned with the sun in the northern hemisphere, roughly from about November 10th through 17th. If your birthday falls during those dates in November, that means your sun is most likely conjunct one of the stars of Serpens. So a big time Serpens starseed code. The direct alignments with the sun are best for daytime meditation, sun gazing, just getting some sun on that third eye or the crown chakra, activating dormant gifts and abilities, activating memories from past or parallel lifetimes connected to that star system, as well as energy upgrades. Now, the opposite alignment that we'll have 6 months later, where Serpens will be opposite the sun and more visible in the night sky in the northern hemisphere, that occurs from May 10th to 17th. And that is a time that's best for nighttime meditation or stargazing. So healing, integration, and shadow work. Of course, you can connect with your guides from Serpens any day of the year. You can practice these methods any day of the year. It's just a little easier to connect and activate certain gifts and abilities, dormant memories, as well as healing blocks to connecting during those alignments. All right, you guys. So, a few resources here for you to check out. Some of this was pulled from the Constellation Guide, as well as the Ancient Origins of the Serpent Cult. That's a great little reading blog if you want to check that out, as well as the mysterious serpent people, the Nagas, that live in the underground secret cities, and hundreds of starseed astrology and Akashic records readings. Thank you guys so much for watching this. Please make sure to comment below with questions, like it, and share it. And hope you guys have a beautiful rest of your day. See you in the next one.